Sir, we are at dot 11, so we can start the program, sir. Chairman, sir.
Okay, thank you, Vipin, and thank you everyone who has joined in today morning for a session of Institute of Quality, a CEO session. And what an absolute pleasure for me to welcome all of you to this wonderful session, especially on a topic which is so dear to what we are doing in CII. Our effort in CII has always been to build competitiveness of the Indian industry, to make it more impactful, to make it more sustainable, make it more also embracing all the modern practices so that we can compete very, very well in the world. And in that context, I must thank Mr. R. Srinivasan for penning down a wonderful book along with his co-authors, Sri Hari Udupa and Raghav Mukund, on their experiences and then sharing all the best practices on how to build impactful business. Uh, as you know, Mr. Srinivasan is a long friend of CII. He was the chair of CII Karnataka. In addition to that, he also is on the advisory board of Institute of Quality, and this entire movement which Institute of Quality has been spearheading in terms of building excellence in business as well as making business competitive. He has played a stellar role in guiding us in making sure that we are able to give the service to our members. Just a brief introduction. Uh, he was involved in setting up Vidya India, which is today Kenna Metal India. He was their longest serving managing director and a leader in quality movement in the country. And he's been an advisor and mentor to over 25 organizations, helping them to put together a vision, chalking out strategies for transformation and progress. He's been on board of almost 20 organizations and has mentored more importantly, has mentored over 300 C-suite executives. So his contribution has actually gone manifold and multiplied itself in the Indian ecosystem in producing world-class managers. As I said, he's also been an advisory member of Institute of Quality from its inception. So the Institute of Quality in Bangalore owes a lot to the efforts and the vision which Mr. Srinivasan has set for us and guided us. I think he'll be joined also by his co-authors. And just as a brief background, they also have they have a stellar background in terms of working with great companies. Just wanted to introduce Mr. Raghav Mukund. He's a founder director of Saber Skilling Private Limited and has trained over 60,000 people across India, China, Japan, Europe, Southeast Asia. And he has worked in customer service, various aspects of management, sales, and has worked with over 90 odd brands, including Titan, Samsonite, Jockey, Shell, Honeywell, you name it. He has worked with all of them. And one of his key themes, debut release, has been don't sell, make them buy. And I think in a very competitive, difficult world of post-COVID, I think this maxim makes it a wonderful way to progress one's business, connect with the customer. Sri Hari Udupa also started his career in Vidya India, the same place with Mr. Srinivasan has been associated with. He's been an accomplished HR professional and has worked with several for-profit and not-for-profit companies like Vatsila, Oracle, Pricewaterhouse, and Adani. And substantial original work has been done by him in leadership and management. Between them, they have put together and penned this whole process of how do you build impactful business. With these opening words, we are absolutely delighted, Mr. Srinivasan, to hear from all of you. We are eagerly awaiting to learn in the next 55 minutes the distilled version of what the book has to say. But I hope after listening to you, our listeners, our participants would go out and buy the book, read more about it in detail, and also reach out to you for more help and support. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukundan, Chairman of the Institute of Quality. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I am privileged that you are chairing this session. You have invited us to come and share our thoughts with you, and we are having a large number of distinguished members of CII and other friends joining in on this program. It's absolutely a delight, and I would like to thank you and with all my heart, the CII, Vipin and his team for giving me this opportunity to share these thoughts to such a wide forum. Can you move the slide? So what we are going to talk about today is slides are not sharing. Can you, Vipin, can you see me and can you see my presentation?
We can see you, sir, but the presentation is not yet appearing.
Go to share. I think sharing is not happening. Select the slide. You got it now?
Yes, it is there. It is there.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
Make it full screen.
Yeah.
Sir.
So we are, I think it's needless for me to say that we are living in very, very disruptive times. I think this pandemic has created such a problem as none of us have ever faced before. And suddenly we find that all of us have been chasing results and company objectives. We suddenly find that people's lives seems to matter much, much more than anything else. And the people's safety and health has come into center stage. It's been a big challenge, and we have been struggling to manage those challenges.
Sir, you can do it on the slideshow, sir. Right now, your notes are also appearing on the screen.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Controlling the file.
Karthik, can you guide, sir, please?
Let my slide show you.
Go to the display settings at the top, sir, and just swap.
Things happen, something. What's wrong here? Slideshow, next one. Coming on to slideshow mode. Resume slideshow. Coming on to slideshow. Terribly sorry, there's some problem here.
Just close that window, sir. Yeah.
I will close this window and come again. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You can close this presentation and share again, sir.
Okay. What point? In the desktop.
Yeah, we can see your screen. Just minimize this windows. Yes, open the presentation now.
Yes, open, sir. Go display.
Open the presentation. Yeah.
Click on display. Click on slideshow. There you go.
Yeah. Go on to the slideshow mode. Go on to the slideshow mode. Next to that. Yeah. So go to the display settings at the top left corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just swap. Yeah.
I'm terribly
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Please go ahead.
I'm very sorry for this interruption. as I was saying, we are living in very disruptive times, and not only do organizations face a disruption, but there is a tremendous change in the consumer behavior. They are not just satisfied with a good product or a service anymore. They are expecting a good experience. And above all, they are looking for brands which they can trust. The CII's theme for this year is building India for a new world with competitiveness, growth, sustainability, and technology as principal drivers which organizations need to focus. If we go a little deeper into this, we'll have to ask ourselves a few questions about when we talk about competitiveness, what exactly do we mean by that? Whom are we competing with? Is it going to be just the adjacent neighbor we have been dealing with all along? Or are we going to benchmark ourselves against the best in the world or the businesses anywhere in the world? Would investing and building scale, China has been a big example of scale, and just by increasing scale and cutting cost alone, is it going to make us competitive in the world? And will it enable India to reach the $1 trillion which we have set for ourselves as a goal in terms of manufacturing? Should we shift from being contented leaders in our own domestic markets, or should we seek world recognition and try and become reliable partners to global organizations? Should we be satisfied just with building shareholder value? I think this is one important question I think we have to ask ourselves again and again. Would taking care of the environment and reducing the use of non-renewable resources, is it alone to make us sustainable? Because sustainability is not just for today. We have to be sustainable in the new emerging world, which is going to be completely different from what it is so far. On top of all that, we have a time where massive disruptions in terms of technology. Uber has shown us that with a very asset-light platform, they can build one global platform where they can conquer various markets and make inroads. At the same time, we have got automation and robotics making their impact on industry, and even robotics are invading our homes. I think this disruption has shown that, for example, the floor cleaning robots have invaded many homes here, even in India. Then we have technologies such as IoT and 4.0, which enable us to tap better value. And above all, we are having an opportunity to expand by tapping in on the experiences of the customers. But the question is, are we strong enough to face these disruptions and conquer the world? It is no longer business as usual. I think the strategies which has got us so far to where we are not going to work anymore. We have been in many organizations. We have a top-driven approach where a lot of things are shouldered, particularly in MSMEs, where a lot of responsibility is shouldered by the CEO. This is not going to work. The command and control style is not going to work. The leaders have to take some new directions. They have to find new ways, not only to the organization, but reach out to the shareholders and society at large and contribute whatever they can. In a fast-changing VUCA world, we need all hands on deck to grapple with the changes and to succeed in facing the issues on a day-to-day basis that confront us. We need a new set of approaches. We need the entire organization to be agile, to be dynamic, to be creative, and there is a need for innovation in almost all areas of business. We need to understand that there's a need for a transformative change. We need to build organizations which are dynamic, agile, and innovative. And above all, they need to make an impact on the society and the sphere in which they are dealing with. Organizations are not static. They are living entities and they evolve. I think in our view, there are 5 phases. I think we are familiar with the first 3 phases normally, where we go through a startup phase, where an idea, the entrepreneur or the person taking the initiative tries to prove an idea and establish a business case. Then we go through a stabilizing phase where the business has got to be, certain scale has got to be built up, and the business case can be demonstrated. The third is the operational phase, where most of us are finding ourselves in today, where we are trying to expand the customer base, improve the operational efficiency, drive growth, and drive profits. On top of that, we have this issue towards excellence, and CII IQ has been pioneering this, trying to encourage companies to move on to that by focusing to improve processes, to get better efficiencies, imbibe best practices, and seek business excellence. Now, what we are propounding is on top of this, there is a stage beyond excellence where we can make an impact transcending the businesses. We need to understand what it takes to get to this level. In our view, there are 7 pillars which reflects the business and the cultural health of the organizations. The business expectations and the organization status is one, in which of the 5 stages do we find ourselves in? Then more importantly, there is the business, the paradigm of the leader. What does he want to achieve? And is he able to understand and meet the expectations of all the stakeholders and the suppliers and the societies at large? Then very, very importantly, we have what we call the people expectations. What do the people expect at the various levels of their own evolution and growth in the company? And does the organization consider people as an important driver? And is there an approach to meet their expectations? For this to happen, the leader's paradigm on people, how does he look at the people? And how sensitive is he to their requirements and needs and their expectations as they evolve through the organization? So the leadership paradigm is a critical dimension which we would like to underline. And then we have the other 3 core or the nucleus of the organizations which define its character and its personality, as it were. Is there a larger purpose which serves as a guiding star and drive the organization and its people in the right directions? The question is, why are we doing what we are doing? Are there shared values binding people in the organization? Does the leadership live these values as examples to be followed? And again, and lastly, is the organization vision comprehensive enough to include the people, the planet, and the profit? The 3P vision, or more currently in today's world jargon, we are talking about the ESG criteria, which is being talked about widely. These are the 7 pillars which bolster an organization, act like a rudder to steer the organizations towards growth, competitiveness, and sustainability. As the organization grows, its need to develop along all these 7 pillars, and that is what we would like to underline. Now let us look at these 7 pillars, how they intersect with the 5 stages we have identified a few minutes ago, and how they impact the business organization. We can come up with a table like this. I'll get into the details one by one, but it's at this point of time, I'd like to show that there are 5 phases of the business along the y-axis, and these 7 parameters are captured here on the x-axis. We'll see that the leadership paradigm on business and people are the 2 enablers which impact the status of the business organization and the people. The important thing is to note that the purpose, the vision, and the values are at the nucleus, and they define, as I mentioned, the character and the personality of the organization. Let us look at these stages of business evolution on the 7 pillars one by one. At the startup stage, the entrepreneur's purpose is to fill the perceived void, exploit the opportunity identified. She is focused on trying out the idea, proving the viability, and get the needed funding, and that there's no time for other aspects. The leadership just operates as with a small team, and the people he or she knows are going to be useful. The startup team is focused entirely on creating a business offering which is functional and has attractive features and provides value to the customer. There is very little time or room for the leadership to think of any of the long-term and the fundamental issues around purpose, values, ethics, and people, which eventually make a great organization. As the organization grows, the next step is to stabilize the ship, add functionally capable people to create the necessary bandwidth and address the needs and concerns of the customer. The purpose at this stage is to prove that there is a viable business case and the vision is limited to reaching the business goals and get to break even reduce the cash burn and increase the customer base and the revenues. As far as values, the personal views and on ethics and the value base of the entrepreneurs has an impact on the organization. There may be a desire to be ethical in all dealings. The value base of the leader decides if the companies choose to be ethical in all dealings or cut corners as it moves ahead. People are needed for the business to grow. So people with the necessary skill sets are hired, and if not found suitable, they are fired. The paradigm of the leader and people is, I pay, you perform. As growth happens and the enterprise becomes profitable, the organization gets into this third phase. The purpose then is to grow the shareholder value, and the vision is to grow the business profitably. So much has been written about how to run the business profitably, choosing the right strategy, the right technology, the right product, the right profile, the right marketing strategies. And all of you are engaged in this on a day-to-day basis, and you are fully aware of what all is needed to run a business successfully. I am not going to get into the details of those, but let us talk more about the other pillars. As far as the values in the organization are concerned, although the leader may like to be ethical and adopt a set of values, these are not clearly articulated in most of the companies, and maybe even if there is some values are written, there are inconsistency in following them. At best, the effort is trying to be ethical is not to break the law. Let us conform and let us not get into trouble with anybody. Coming to people, the need for engaged people is felt, but the focus is mostly to satisfy them with some benefits and some motivation exercises. People are recruited and some leave. There is hardly any time or effort to understand what the people really want and address the related issues. The lateral hires brings with them their own culture, and this translates into conflicts between existing people and the newcomers. There is a need to build capability, and the training effort but unfortunately happens to be piecemeal and sporadic. Even today, I note with great amount of disappointment that the training is considered to be a cost because they feel that the trained people leave, and therefore this is a wasted investment. So there is no sustained effort to develop the people. Training many times, as I mentioned, is considered as a cost, and people particularly the MSMEs, are not able to address this issue in an adequate manner. The people issues are left to the human resources function, and the leadership gets involved only when there is an issue. There is a gap in understanding the people expectation and get them fully engaged. Let us stop here for a moment and take a step back and look, why is this happening? To find the answers, we need to understand what the people expectations are and how they evolve and how their careers, along their careers, as the careers they evolve, and how their own expectations change. Initially, when a youngster starts his career and looks for his job or his or her job, he or she is mainly interested to work for a good organization and get a good pay packet and a reasonable compensation. One could say that the primary interest at that stage is roti kapada or makan. This need expands very soon beyond the financial dimensions, and he or she wants to have the ability, they want to learn, they want to have opportunities to try out new things, build their own capability, and grow along the organization. The millennial workforce particularly is very, very impatient, and we see a great deal of quick job changes in this younger generation. It has been there before, but is more accentuated now. If the organization is progressive and provides them with the necessary training and growth opportunities, and they're able to see it clearly, or they stay, or else they move ahead to find better opportunities elsewhere. Almost all SME units and even many family-owned enterprises get stuck at this stage. The challenge to the entrepreneur owner does not end here. The expectations from the government and the society at large is also changing. The expectation is that the organization conducts itself as a responsible corporate citizen. We find that organizations merely pushing top and bottom line growth find it difficult to sustain the momentum and grow on a continuous basis. However, in this scenario, there are a few organizations which succeed in putting in some good management practices and move ahead. For this, the leadership develops a longer-term vision with a purpose that extends beyond the business results. An attempt is made to address the expectations of all the other stakeholders, including vendors, associates, and societies at large. Today, this goes under the name, as you mentioned, of the ESG. The CII Institute of Quality has been trying to propagate the models of excellence and try to get people on this journey. So if the leadership succeeds in creating some ownership for the vision and starts paying attention to train and develop people and improve the processes and build the capability and competency in the team, things become a little different. And if it is supported by some good practices, which people inherently like, the organization moves along the excellent journey. Many MNC units who come to this country get to a profitable phase or the earlier phase 3 and quickly start looking at operational efficiencies, defined processes, and human resource policies. They also find that they need to be very ethical in their dealings. The CEO may even set a goal of becoming a market leader or challenge the business excellence frameworks. But even for this excellence to be sustained, the full participation of the employee is needed to drive continuous improvements. People at this stage are looking for an emotional connect to the organization, to have a sense of belonging and some bonding with the organization. In other words, he or she seeks what is called a psychological safety. She wants an identity, voice his or her opinion. They want access to the leadership, share their ideas, and he or she wants to have a say, stand up and be counted as an individual or a capable individual. In most organizations, these aspects are left again to the human resources department. They try and do their best. They address the functional nuts and bolts of what is required, but something is missing. The organization becomes rule bound. It becomes bureaucratic. The principle to take care of the people and nourish them is somehow forgotten, and somehow it becomes a little rule based and heavily bureaucratic, in the result that people really get frustrated. But what determines the emotional connect and the creation of a bond to the organization is critically the way in which the people are treated on a daily basis at the workplace by his boss, by his or her boss. What is the style of functioning of the leadership? Command and control does not seem to work, and the people want empowerment, some degree of freedom, a freedom to try out new things and experiment. Does the leadership thinking or the paradigm provide space for this? I think that is the critical question. Because what the leader thinks percolates down the organization, and same is followed by the first level leadership at the shop floor level. The experience is that the most organizations, having reached some amount of operational maturity, may even be contented with it and continue to be there. Things will soon begin to stagnate. Many organizations which have received and even received an excellent award are seen to soon drop in their own performance. Because the target setting and improvement planning soon becomes a routine, and the people get tired merely to improve the top and the bottom line. Higher performance pay and incentives may be introduced. While they satisfy the employee for a short period of time, they do not seem to provide motivation and engagement. To keep the interest alive, many, especially the Americans, have introduced one initiative after the other to try to create some amount of freshness and keep the interest of the people alive. But it just becomes a flavor of the month because each initiative is started and suddenly it fades off. The people do not find any meaning in their work, and they do find that their lives to be empty. They get tired of working merely to improve the top and the bottom line. They soon get into the question, what is in it for me? From an organizational perspective, is there something more for a business than just making profits? Does the leadership in the organization have a purpose? Why the organization is doing what it is doing beyond merely building shareholder value? Something more than the top or bottom line seems to be necessary to keep the interests of the people alive. This is particularly true, as I mentioned, of the millennials and the Gen Z. For them, purpose in life is an anchor. There is so much talk about unburdened capitalism, which has made this place a very unequitable place. One needs to ask if the Milton Friedman doctrine of the business of business is to make profits. Is it relevant at all? Unfortunately, most of the organizations are stuck in this phase, either trying to become excellent or even after reaching some excellent benchmark, they begin to stagnate. But there are organizations which have moved beyond this. There are companies which are admired by one and all, not just the customers and the employees, but going beyond all vendors, partners, society, and even the regulators. Companies which work to a larger purpose beyond profits. Companies who apparently work for something higher than the business goals and who could be termed as responsible good corporate citizens. The Tata Steel everyone knows was started more than a century ago with the express purpose of building a strong nation. L&T today wants to make India proud with their Imagineering, and Godrej Precision wants to build systems which the country needs. Such larger purposes are not just the preserve of large companies. To mention one, a company called Polyhydron in Belgaum has adopted this, the higher order business, that the purpose of business is creation of wealth for the nation, not just for the shareholders, but wealth for the nation. So these companies' actions demonstrate that they have an higher objective in mind. One of the best known examples of commitment for a larger purpose and where the people are motivated is what we saw when the 26/11 happened and the Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay was attacked. The engagement and the commitment was very well seen here. Rising above and beyond the call of duty and putting their own lives on line, the team of people led by their own general manager, Mr. Karambir Khan, was very keen and helped the people to safety. Mr. Khan even ignored the calls of rescue from his own wife and 2 sons, who unfortunately perished in this attack. But he was committed. As he said, he has formed his own rules in his mind of what the responsibility of a hotelier is, and he lived up to the task. No wonder that the Taj hotels have recently been recognized as the strongest hotel brand in the world. There are many such organizations which win the admiration and trust in sections of the society. People love to be associated with such organizations, want to work for them for a longer period of time, feel proud. People feel proud to belong to the organization and find meaning in what they do and contribute to the sustained progress of the organization. They stand out as beacons in an otherwise commercial world where many things are compromised for profits and personal gain. We would like to characterize such organizations and place them at a level above excellence, in a sense beyond what is expected by the business excellence frameworks, be it Baldrige, Deming, or the CII exam. Let us look at what are the characteristics, the ingredients of such an organization at this level on the 7 parameters we have identified earlier. First and foremost is the purpose, which needs to go beyond profits and shareholder value to provide value to a larger society. The spirit of the organization needs to be seen as serving a larger purpose or common good beyond its own business objectives. The vision, which not only addresses the 3P, which means the planet, the people, and the profit, but should include relevant aspects of common good derived from the larger purpose of the organization and become a holistic vision. The 4th P, or purpose, comes into play. The values, the operating values, need to go beyond ethics to include basic human values of honesty, integrity, and care, and should also include a spirit of service, selflessness, and to be righteous, what we call dharmic, which will enable the leaders to be compassionate and empathetic with the people while dealing with many issues. If the values are to be shared in the organization, much depends on the value system of the leadership and how the people see it in action. The leaders' paradigm, the business paradigm, as we mentioned, needs to be transformative, must function in alignment with the larger purpose, earning the respect and trust of all the stakeholders. The intent should be to make an impact transcending business. The organization structure would also morph from being hierarchical to one of participative style, and there is a free flow of ideas, solutions, and strategies up, down, and across the organization. The leadership paradigm on people, the leader should propagate and nourish a culture of selfless contribution and service, and is characterized by looking at people with empathy and compassion and care. Has to look at people as true enablers and empower them, treat them with empathy and understanding, providing them space to express themselves freely without fear, encouraging them to try out new ideas and succeed, and enabling them to progress in their own careers and also contribute to the growth and success of the organization. This is the stage of beyond excellence. It is the primary responsibility of the leadership to create such an environment. The people expectations at this phase, they want an identity, they want respect, they want dignity, they seek easy access to leadership and freedom to express themselves, room to try out new ideas, and they want an environment free of fear, of an environment where even when they fail, they are not reprimanded. He or she is longing to take on leadership role and wants to take on responsibility. It is up to the leadership to recognize this and provide space for that. The business status, when the larger purpose pervades the organization, the impact would be that it governs all decisions, whether at the strategic level, when choices are made, or on a day-to-day decisions are taken to address the transactional issues. The choice of the decision would be not from the business objective alone, but from the value addition to the common good. Such a culture is nourishing and brings out the performance where everybody wins. For people to operate at this level, they need what we call psychic safety. When an organization needs to move beyond excellence and a desire to make an impact, the role of the people, their full engagement, ownership, and contribution is vital. There should not be any room for the we, they divide. At this phase, the people have evolved and want an identity with the organization and have a sense of belonging. They can, as I mentioned, they want an environment free of fear in which they can contribute and develop. They even want a situation that when something is wrong, he or she wants the freedom to question whether it is the strategy or the intent behind the decision. They expect what we call psychic safety. This environment of providing psychic safety is essential to make the people creative and innovative, which is so necessary today in today's world. Accountability for his work follows, and she starts feeling responsible for outcomes. Motivation is no longer external. It is more enlightened engagement getting transformed into ownership. The most important factor, of course, is the leadership. What is the personal orientation of the leaders? As they say in German, what is his Weltanschauung? How does he look at life? What does he want in life? Does he have a purpose in life? His or her understanding of success centered around position, power, money, and absolute control? Or is he or she able to rise, as Jim Collins says in his book, Good to Great, to be a level 5 leader who has a great personal humility and an intense professional will? The concept should not be aligned to the Indian minds, as in our own Indian heritage, we have a concept called Raja Rishi, a king or a leader who puts aside all his personal interests and works only for the welfare of the subjects. When people see the organization is contributing to a greater purpose, the what is in it for me question is removed and the people's mind, and they begin to align themselves to work for the common good. This will automatically provide some meaning and fulfillment to the people and enable much higher engagement with the company's goal. We get into a virtuous cycle. Such organizations become dynamic, self-directed, and earn the trust and respect of the customers, both and the outside community, and become a trusted brand and an impactful organization. Such impactful organizations can be represented by a tree. The employees are proud to belong and identify themselves with the organization. The nourishing cultural environment enthuses the people, and they are effervescent, energetic, fulfilled, self-directed, and motivated. And with many employees looking around for problems that could be solved to help the customer and the society, a constant stream of growth possibilities float up to the top. It is not the sole burden of the leadership to find new strategies and avenues for growth. An organization where everybody wins. I would like you to reflect on some of these slides. Is our company built to last? Building impactful organizations for the new world requires new age leaderships. Raja Rishis, nourishing cultures in their organization, and truly transform what we would like to call a stone cutter to a temple builder. Thank you very much.
Deep.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Srinivasan, and for giving a very, very comprehensive insight. We are now opening up the platform for asking questions. If I may request the attendees or participants to put their questions in the QA or the chat box, and we will read it out and request Mr. Srinivasan and our other colleagues to answer to them, please. Deep, can you read out
Yeah.
question in the chat box and all?
To start off with, there is a question on people. When people are looking for higher pay packages and leave, how do we retain talent? I repeat, when people are looking for higher pay packages and leave, how do we retain talent? And a related question, salary is becoming the only motivator to the employee. Does it really make sense as it is becoming difficult to retain them?
I can take this question. Initially, of course, salary is important for many people, and especially for the millennials, because they are impatient. They want to.
Sir, can you speak a bit louder? It's not audible, sir.
One moment. Can you mute this? You unmute yours.
Okay, are you able to hear me?
Yes, please. Much better.
Yeah. Initially, there's nothing. 1 second, we'll unmute. Okay. Initially, it's but natural. It's but natural for people to look at what Mr. Srinivasan mentioned, the first level of expectation, which is roti, kapra, and makan, and they would like to move ahead very, very fast, and they get very quickly disillusioned by just mere facilities and salaries. They look for more meaning, and they more look for what is called fulfillment. And that will happen only if the leadership in organizations encourages them to find more things to do what they want to do, rather than what the top leadership only wants to do. Now, this is a leadership which has to be nurtured, and they have to encourage these people who, there will be some people who leave because of better remuneration, but there will be enough people who want to stay and contribute to a larger purpose, provided the organization is able to provide that for them. So ultimately, there has to be a shift from pay to opportunity. If the opportunity is provided by the organization, then people would stay. There are many organizations which provide this, and that's how it has to be done. Because
few points. I just want to add a couple of points. I think, as Mukund mentioned, it's important that we go through this phases of the Maslow's hierarchy. But I think it's also, people are expecting fair wages. As long as you're prepared to pay fair wages, people are prepared to look at other things. And it is important, and I think it's the role of the leadership to take the people from, just looking at Maslow's hierarchy and saying, how much can I earn and what can I, what power, position and salary that I can earn, to something better, to something higher. And I think that needs to be inculcated, and that is the primary role of the leader, to take people beyond what they are looking at. Otherwise, everybody will come that way. That's the group of people we've got. We need to try and see how we can really transform people to looking at pay, purpose, pay. We're looking at power and position, and go beyond that to looking at something larger. And as long as the leadership is prepared to demonstrate that, live that, I think it's going to be easier for us to deal with the younger generation and motivate them in the right direction. Thank you.
Yeah. The next question is from Dr. Birender Kumar. How to best link performance management with profitability of a business, short term, mid term, and long term. I repeat, how to best link performance management with profitability of a business, short term, mid term, and long term. Hello.
Sorry, 1 minute. I have to unmute.
Okay, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You see, the CEOs have to satisfy the shareholders today, particularly listed companies, know that every quarter, no, there is pressure in implementing short-term vision. And the whole question is that people, when companies are stuck with the short-term goals, they tend to become very transactional, and they get into that routine, they get into that chakkar, they get into the rut. But if you're looking at to build, and as we mentioned, if we continue in this transactional mode, it is very difficult to get the engagement of the people and to build an organization for the longer term. If you really want to build an organization for the longer term, there is a need. Ultimately for us, if you're able to create a little longer term vision and a real purpose, which inspires people, which motivates people to join, then what happens is the whole organization become very dynamic and more powerful. You will be able to achieve more. So it is primarily the question of a clarity in the mind of the leader to say, all right, I will have a short-term vision, but this vision will be linked to a larger vision and a larger purpose. If I'm able to see a connect, and if I'm able to work as long as I do my short-term actions in aligned to the longer-term goals, I think we'll be able to make the progress. Because it needs to create a culture and environment within the organization where people get beyond the transaction and the here and now into looking at saying that, okay, how do we build a better company? How do we serve the community better? How do we serve our customers better and do a service to the society at large? I think that's important. I think it primarily comes from the fact that we have to, along with my short term, I have to start looking at a larger purpose.
Thank you, sir. There's a very interesting question which has come from Mr. Ajwal Majumdar, that positions at the top are very few, but everybody aspires to get there. How do you manage this serious issue?
So this is where the question comes up. It is a question of how the organization is structured. Is it a command and control type of an organization where it's only the CEO and all the rest are all minions? Or is it a participative style where everybody has got some freedom, some authority, takes on responsibility and executes it and finds appreciation and recognition for it? The position at the top is not just the question of a label. It is a question of being able to have the empowerment and the ability to take decisions and to act and succeed, to be able to find his own opportunity to sort of put through his ideas and succeed. I think we have to create such roles of independent responsibilities in the various leadership. I believe that even a young person who comes and joins today wants to be a leader eventually. So he aspiring for something. What does the leader actually do? He creates finds a solution and finds a solution to problems and takes the organization forward. So does he have the opportunity, or does he have to wait for the approval for every small step he needs to take from the top? I think that is decisive. If you are able to empower the people and make them act, I believe they will get a lot more satisfaction, which money alone cannot provide.
Can I just add a point? I just want to add a point here. Leadership is not always about a position. I think it's also about the opportunity to influence what is going on in the organization. And the more you are able to create opportunities where people can influence a large section of the organization and ultimately the impact that the organization is making, I think people would be satisfied. While I agree in certain cases position does matter, but I think people need to understand that in this culture, the ability to influence is what really helps people to see that yes, they are finding meaning in what they are doing and they are able to impact whatever is happening in the organization. Leadership is required whenever there is a change. wherever there is an opportunity for us to do new things, we need leadership. And management is all about, we have got, everybody knows what needs to be done. We've got the input, throughput, output. It's a standard thing. But the more you are able to give opportunities for people to influence the organization, I think more people would be finding meaning in their own lives, and they prefer to be a part of the organization, would be prefer to be a part of the institution and contribute to the larger purpose. Thank you.
The next question is from Dr. Anjan Ghosh. Many organization leaders just want excellence award. How to convince them that they should aim for improving processes, not the award?
It is a question now about the culture of the organization and the type of leadership. Ultimately, we must understand, unless and until people start asking the question, why am I doing what I'm doing? Unless that very question is asked, the purpose is asked, and people try to find answers, it is very difficult to move ahead. Then we get caught in these transactional things and looking for these merits and labels and awards and stuff like that. It doesn't take the organization really forward, because we have come across any number of organizations which even after getting an excellent award, very soon go down, because the effort at the time when there is an award, there is an objective, there is a goal, there is a target, people work for it. But once the award is obtained, the whole thing fizzles out and the whole thing slumps down to a very, very average or a below average level. That is a big danger. I think it is primarily the responsibility of the leadership to understand this and to change the mood. I think I can understand their frustration, because maybe people at the second or junior level see the need, and the top leadership sometimes does not see the need. I think that's a problem. But as I said, only collective pressure from the bottom perhaps can sometimes change even the top.
Sir, a related question, how to achieve beyond excellence in a resource constrained environment?
You see, the resources is a very interesting topic, in a sense that the resources comes when you are efficient. We're able to create resources. There are many companies which are quite efficient, are able to generate their own margins to be able to invest for the growth and development of the organization. So the question is, are we able to do that? And how do you get there? If we have to get there, we need the full engagement of the people. We cannot do a command and control. Everybody comes in the morning and does work only for salary and goes back home, where although he's physically present, his heart and hands do the job, but he's physically, mentally, he is not involved or engaged. You get a very, very poor level of performance. If the performance level has got to be increased, the people will have to be inspired and motivated by the leadership with a higher order objective. You come and say that, look, you work hard and I will make the money. If an entrepreneur says, he's not going to get a response. He can only enthuse his people by trying to say what the organization is trying to do, trying to reach something beyond merely making a profit or fattening the purse of the shareholders. So that is where the purpose comes into play. And I believe that every organization can find its purpose. And organizations which find a purpose, and if the leader is committed to that and believes it and lives that role and communicates it and works as an evangelist, then the people will get charged and will get motivated and he will perform. I think very, very much depends on the leadership and his clear understanding of why he is doing what he is doing. Is he only satisfied with his own pay and position and power, or does he himself have a purpose? What will satisfy him? Ultimately, what is going to satisfy him and make him happy? Because there is a limit to which money alone and power alone does not give satisfaction. It is only success. And ultimately, in my experience, I believe that is only when you're able to help others, when you're able to support others, when you're able to help people when they are in a difficulty or they are able to find a solution to their problems, you get true happiness. So if that is the goal of an individual, and if the leader understands it, he has to somehow try and see how we can percolate it through the organization. That's why the role modeling and the clear articulation of the leader on these topics is very important.
Sir, a very, very, pertinent, again, a question which a lot of our industries are struggling with. It's been asked by Mr. Appaji Vangara. It says when a lot of startups and MSMEs struggle most of the time on financial front. He's asking, is it not a high expectation to talk about excellence for them?
Certainly not. We are not asking for excellence at that stage at all. As I mentioned, there are 5 stages in the evolution of the organization. When a startup comes up, the purpose is completely different. They are at that point of time trying to prove their business, make it viable, make it sustainable. I think that is the goal, and that is where the leader and his team are trying to put in their maximum effort. We are certainly not saying that, look, there should be a higher order purpose at that level. If a leader happens to have that still in his back of his mind and that influences action, well and good. But that is not the whole idea. The purpose for an organization, I repeat, changes with the level at which the organization finds itself. For a startup, it is different. For a stabilizing company, it is different. For a growing company, it is different. And for an excellent company, it is different.
So there's a question, how to curb the culture of impatience associated with target delivery?
The question of impatience, you mean the mind of people, I suppose, is what is meant. Particularly the younger generation, they're very impatient to get some results. But the question thus is to throw challenges at them and make them work. We have to pick on problems and make challenges to work, which is very intensive and very requires, and where the people have to put in their best efforts and their capabilities to succeed. By throwing in challenges and involving people, particularly the younger generation. You see, today, unfortunately, in many organizations, particularly in manufacturing, we have a situation where we believe that the youngster is not capable and he has to wait some 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years to become a manager or a general manager. I think those type of things, those days are gone. The younger people are fairly capable. They are very, very adept in technology. They learn a lot of things. They have got access to technology. They use the internet and other research possibilities. So we have to give them opportunities and responsibility. The best way to do that is to give responsibility to the people, throw challenges at them, and make them work for it. And then you will find that the impatient goes, because he has to deliver.
Thank you. There's a question as to what would be the best method to identify the employee expectations and satisfaction, which will help the organization to move beyond level of leadership. I feel a slightly related question, another question that is there, which says that they see an interesting mention. You cannot take Vidya out of Vidyan's in chapter 8, making a difference. I guess the term of Vidya can be replaced with any organization. Great leadership make employees feel motivated as long as they're working with them. They continue to be the brand ambassadors of the company they leave behind. Do you see this as a significant benefit to the organizations, even when the employees leave for better prospects? I somehow thought that the two were somehow, one was answering the other one. How do you identify?
The answers are built in there, I guess. The answers are built in there, I guess, because I think it's more a statement than a question, or perhaps a underlining of what we are saying. You build great people, even if the great people leave and all that, it doesn't matter as long as they go outside and contribute to the industry or the society or wherever they are engaged with, profit making, non-profit, whatever. So the question here again is, the question, if you're able to develop the people, the fundamental issue is, does the organization or the leadership committed to the development of the people, and does it take it as its own responsibilities? I think the leadership must see, many times the younger people are not fully aware, they are not able to understand, they are a little bit confused. So we'll have to give them a little bit of guidance, a little bit of coaching, a little bit of mentoring to try and tell them what matters and what is good and what will be ultimately good for him and why we are doing and what will satisfy. I think that type of mentoring and coaching of the younger people, and particularly people who are impatient about these things, is very, very important. You want to add something?
Yeah, I just would like to add to what Srinivasan said. Nurturing leaders is about doing 5 things which we've talked about in the book. The first thing is getting an emotional connect. The second thing is giving them mental challenges, because they love challenges. So you have to give mental challenges. Give psychological and psychic safety, which we have talked about. Moment you give these 4 or 5 things, they're willing to work and get better engaged into this organization. And they will become leaders quite fast. As far as capabilities go, youngsters, there's no doubt that they are very, very capable in what they have to learn. And they're very fast in learning.
So the next question, how important is the clarity of purpose and vision? Is it very critical to improve engagement of people?
I'm a little surprised with this question, because unless we get the engagement of the people, you don't get the best result. If you come and say, this is my work norm, execute your work and you go, and I know better, I will tell you what to do and you do what I tell you. If that is the mode, then I believe very much depends on the ability of the one leader to deal with the organization, the people. And I believe in today's disruptive times, when the challenges fly at you from many, many different quarters. You know, when one of the customer facing persons meets with the customer, when, as we say, when the rubber meets the road, and when he is forced with a problem, the question is how well does he understand the organization? And it could be something, maybe even cost him a certain amount of money. Maybe he has to, the customer expectations are that he has a problem and he wants it to be solved. The question is again the organization culture. What does the customer, the organization think? Does it think only of the cost and the bottom line impact? Or is it there to build relationships and continue delivery of service and build a brand, build the trust, build the business and grow the business eventually? I think it's a clarity required in the thinking at the top. I don't think anything else matters, because, but one thing is very clear. In today's complex world, without the engagement and the commitment of people, I think the chances of success are very, very limited.
Then, sir, how do we develop critical thinking and consensus management in the teams at all levels?
I believe critical thinking depends very much on the ability to formulate the right issues and debate. Participative thinking, group thinking, and very, very often in a participative approach on top of the leadership with immediate team members to find a solution. You see, there are many, many organizations where, for example, you take the Japanese, for example, you know, one of the fundamental things at a very basic level of the shop floor, they have these quality circles addressing and dealing with problems. And if they are able to move to higher level, they come and say, come on, okay, boys, we have a problem. Let us put together a cross-functional team of people who are willing to contribute and we'll support them to the hill to succeed. So the question is, what the problem solving and improvement comes from participation. The critical thinking comes from the issues faced in the business and the issues faced, whether it's technology or whether it's marketing or whether it's product issues. I think it automatically can. So it is a question of being able to close to the market. I think that if you're able to listen to the customer and to the market, I think the issues of the organizations become clear. And if you're able to convert them into the right questions to the teams will respond.
When I believe we are, now running out of time, although we are flooded with the questions. With your permission, maybe a last question, which is being repeatedly, coming in one form or the other, is how to motivate, MSMEs, or how to create that kind of a foundation of culture of excellence in MSME for them to establish and then to move on that excellence journey. Now this is being asked in different forms by different speakers, different participants. So I've just summed it up, and maybe I thought that this may be the last question before we close for the session.
You see, unfortunately, the MSMEs who have been there for some years have developed a style of functioning where everything is command and control of the top person, and he is very busy with the external world, be it with the banks or with the regulators or with the customers or whatever, and his own connect with the people is very limited. Unless and until the top person there in an MSME is able to get down to the people and engage with them and understand their issues and deal with them one by one and encourage the people to come and say, yes, we can do it type of attitude. Yes, we can, as Obama said, unless we create that spirit in them. And if required, he can take the help of anybody required. For example, even the CII is available. We may have to take the help of anybody who is able to help him. If there is a gap in thinking or gap in sort of knowledge or experience, he can take the help of others. But very, very importantly for him is he must share the problem with his immediate team, and he must encourage them to find success. He must encourage them to come up with responses. I think that type of empowerment, I find in many, many SMEs, the people below are not empowered. So I think there must be a clarity about what he can go and what are the commitments he can make and what he can do, and provided with sometimes many issues can be solved with a little amount of support and resources. We don't require a whole lot of money to break through problems. Pick up small issues, develop successes, succeed, and build small successes and build on that to grow further. I think engagement of the people, making them face these problems. Initially, there will be a reluctance. They say, oh, we don't know, we don't do it. But I think the entrepreneur must find the right people, at least one or two. I'm sure in any distribution you'll have always find some people who are willing to take on the challenges, be able to identify their potential and give them the responsibility, irrespective of their designation and experience and age. If you're able to identify them and motivate them, I think there's a good chance of success.
True, sir. As you rightly said, that it's a gradual process and which has to be very well structured by building in certain small benchmarks from operational excellence, and then slowly you have to move towards that the journey of the excellence to reach that final benchmark. Absolutely right. Sir, we have many more questions in the chat box and the QA. What we can do is we'll collate these questions and maybe forward these to you, and then seek your suggestions to individually answer to these to our attendees, which are them. Yeah.
Certainly, we'll do that. If you can give us the questions, the names, and their email IDs, we will respond to them. There's no issue at all. It'll be a pleasure to do so, and we will certainly do that. That's the commitment we make. I
really wish we had more time, but looking at the question, if we start now, we may, we may go on with the program for the whole day. But since we have to end, we had 1200 hours as a end time. With this, with your permission, may I request Mr. T.T. Ashok, our senior member of our advisory board, to propose a vote of thanks, sir. Mr. Ashok.
Thank you, Vipin. Thank you, Vipin. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please. Yes.
I'm privileged to propose a vote of thanks to people whom I admire, respect, and who are very, very dear to me, Mr. Srinivasan and Mukund, whom I've known for many, many years. Mr. Udupa, such a pleasure meeting you. I was privileged to get the book in advance and go through it, though I'm afraid I did not take the full value out of the book. I could do much better with what you tried to tell me today. I've been in the space, I will be very brief, because I've been in the space for 40 years. We run 3 companies, 4 different purpose businesses. And I think we run a good company. We don't run a great company. We put in all the systems, we try everything. And I know I work a lot with Vipin, Mr. Srinivasan, whom I talk to regularly. But again, it is the leadership, and what they said resonates. I do have my son sitting next to me and 2 of my managers listening on the video chat. Yes, the leadership at the top is very, very important. The culture of the company, how we transform the company. We can get to phase 1, phase 2, and maybe even phase 3. But breaking beyond that, beyond excellence, is always the challenge. The mindset of the entrepreneur who holds on to it like it's his own personal baby and is not willing to let go. And I'm sure my son will agree that I'm exactly that model. So these are things which we need to do. Again, we think we are empowering people. Maybe we are not doing the empowerment as much as we think it is. I think Mukund also stated it very, very well. I mean, a lot more is possible within the companies. I think we can take the horse to the pond, but to make it drink means, give it the right kind of impetus and the reason to want to drink the water. That's the challenge of leadership. Just to follow up with what Vipin said, of course, I'm sure we can answer the questions. But again, as was pointed out, I think a 1-hour session is not adequate. Maybe more sessions are required. I find there were more than 200 people, or almost close to 200 people, which is phenomenal on a Saturday. It shows the value of the session. It shows the value of the speakers and the contribution to industry. We're extremely grateful to you, sir. Mr. Srinivasan, Mr. Udupa, and Mukund, we're extremely grateful to you. Thank you, Vipin and team, for organizing it. On behalf of the chairman, Mr. Mukundan, and myself and all of us in the advisory council, excellent work is being done. These sessions are so useful. We will continue to do it. Thank you all. Keep safe. Have a good weekend and a great week to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. With this, we close the session for the day.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.